There are a lot of things that I do that are really silly, which we'll get to, but this one from you takes the cake. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome to another episode of Almost Rich, Almost Famous, Almost Daily.
Okay, Betsy, I would like to think I'm like a pretty successful, smart person. Like I got good grades in school. I feel like I'm pretty good at my job, but there's just some things in life that I've gone too far in life not knowing how to do. And so I'm like embarrassed to even admit it. So I thought like maybe I'll just and go ahead and admit all of this on an almost daily and just air it out.
People should know.
Yeah, people just should know that like I'm actually kind of stupid in a lot of realms in life. One of them being pumping gas in general. So I went to the gas station today. The chip reader wasn't working. So it says go and see cashier, which I hate that. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go in.
The ultimate worst.
Yes. And I'm like, I'd rather just actually go around to a different pump, but they were all taken. So I'm like, I'm stuck. I actually have to go in. So I forgot that I wasn't completely on empty. So I said, like, he put $35 on pump, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, I probably don't need $35, which I didn't. It stopped at like $22. So I'm thinking, well, does the money go back on my card? Or do I have to like go in and tell them like, hey, I didn't end up using all of it? And then there was like a long line. I'm like, well, I'm too embarrassed to ask. So I'm like sitting in my car Googling it. And then there was like cars waiting. I'm like, well, I just got to go now. And then I'm like, well, now that's something I should know.
I don't think that's that stupid. Like I would have the same thought. I would think to myself, like, I assume the money will go back on. I probably would have went in just to check because I wouldn't want to throw $15 away.
Yeah.
But that's really the least of your worries at gas stations.
I know. Okay, go ahead. Tell the story about Chicago.
You have a lot of, and I want to preface this by saying, like, I am also really smart. There are a lot of things that I do that are really silly, which we'll get to, but this one from you takes the cake.
Tell the story.
So when Bridget and I went on our little adventure to Chicago last weekend, we stopped to get gas on our way home from Milwaukee in Chicago. And it was really cold and it was the morning. And so Bridget's out there pumping gas. I'm sitting in the car and I'm thinking, like a normal person, she'll put her card in, put the gas thing in, and come back in and wait until the car is full of gas. But she proceeds to stand outside for the whole time. Okay. And I'm thinking, and I will say, like, I am a very, like, I notice everything. And so I was like, I don't know, like, it's pretty weird, but like, I don't really care to ask questions about it. And I kind of forgot about it. Then the next time we stop to get gas, Bridget mentions when she gets back in the car.
No, actually, it was like a revelation, actually.
Oh, okay. It was a revelation. So Bridget starts pumping a gas at a separate gas station on our way home and comes in the car and sits down and was like, I just realized that you can pump gas and not have to hold it the whole time.
Okay.
And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I didn't realize that you could just like prop up the little like thing and it would pump it and you didn't have to hold it.
So I will say I knew you could, but again, it's one of those things you've gone too far in life not knowing how. I could never ask like, hey, so how do I just like prop it up so I don't have to hold it? So my whole life I've just been holding it pumping. So there we're sitting and it was cold and I saw the little like stopper and I'm like, oh my God, I did it. I come in, I'm so excited. I'm like, Betsy, I finally figured it out. And she's looking at me like, wait a minute. I noticed that you didn't get in the car the last time. I thought it was pretty strange. You've gone this long in life and you just now figured it out. And I did. And it's been a life changer.
I think, better late than never. Now you know.
And I didn't have to ask. I figured it out all on my own.
You did. I mean, it was, 10 years later, but it's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I can't totally make fun of you though, because there are several things like that I do that like people don't understand, but it's just something that I want to live this way. Like, for example, when we go to dinner, I do not want to learn how to do tips in my head. Like, I don't want to know how. Like, people always be like, Betsy, it's so easy. $2 for every 10. Add a 0 at the end and add 72. Like, I don't care. I can put it right here in my phone. I don't have to I don't need to take up all that brain space to try to figure out how to do percentages. I can do it right here.
That's a great one. Actually don't know either. I do have like one little trick, and I've tried to tell you. I'm like, Betsy, just double, and you're like, nope. I got my phone right here. I'm gonna type
I
it
do,
in. I'm like, okay.
I do not want to know. What's another one that you do?
Yeah. So those like two, the gas ones are main. Like, maybe it's just like cars in general. Like, I don't know how to put air in a tire.
Well, same. Well, we tried that too,
Yeah, we did.
which
We should
we
have got that on
figured
video.
it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. But
Our
like,
dads would be proud.
yes, but that was one. When I was driving, my dad said, make sure you check the air pressure in all your tires. Make sure it's always at whatever number. And I looked, I'm like, oh shoot, that front tire is getting real low. I'm like, Betsy, we're going to figure this out. And we
And we
did.
did.
It
What
was
I think
probably
when
very
you're put in a
comical for,
position,
yeah, it was definitely comical for the other cars that were there. They're like, look at these idiots trying to like figure out gas. That thing is like going everywhere.
we are idiots. The other one that we're both really bad at is directions. Like
Oh,
when people say, which by the way, why do people do this? I hate this. This is another pet peeve. When people say, yeah, just go south.
oh,
And you're like, well, I don't know what south is. Like, so
right.
do I go left or right?
Or when they're like, okay, well, are you heading east or are you heading west? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what highway are you on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, tell me to go left at the McDonald's. Don't say head east or head west. Like, I don't know what that means.
Can,
Like, I don't know what I would have done if I drove before iPhones existed and you could put it into Google Maps or Waze. I probably just wouldn't drive because I wouldn't know how. Or I'd be printing out like MapQuest directions telling me to turn right and left.
That's what I used to do. I would totally do that. The one that so I am going to match your gas one right now because this is maybe the dumbest thing I've ever said. And my sister is literally like rolling over right now, being like, oh my God, she's so stupid. But we were in Milwaukee once. I was visiting my sister and I was like, we were talking about directions, and I was like, well, just go north towards the lake. And she was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, the lake is north. And she's like, why do you figure? And I was like, because all lakes are north.
I mean, it kind of makes sense to me, but where did you come up with that? Like, I don't know why
I
it makes
made it
sense.
up. I don't know. The lake in Cleveland is north. Like Lake Erie is north. But if you think
Yeah.
about it, like all lakes are not north. I just can't. So I like to think I'm street smart most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm a real dummy.
Oh, directions, it's like, no, nothing. I am the absolute worst. I don't know how to go anywhere. I could go to the same place 10 different times and I'm still plugging the directions in my phone.
Yeah,
There's no way.
totally. The other one that we talked about for you is car washes.
See, it's all about cars. See, maybe I'm not that dumb. It's just like the whole driving situation. I've got really bad road rage. I don't know how to pump gas and I don't know directions.
Yeah.
Also, don't know how to get my car washed. So I was driving my mom's car to Milwaukee and Chicago because I didn't know if it was going to be snowing. Her car is much better in snow. And she's a clean freak. So it comes back. There's salt and snow all over it. I'm like, God, she's gonna want me to get this washed, but I'm a little nervous. So she ends up driving me somewhere this weekend, and well, let's just go get the car washed. So we're going through it, and I'm like, so are you like pressing anything, or is your car just like no to go? Like, how are you doing this? And she looks at me like, do you not know how to go through a car wash? I was like, no. I'm like, well, so you put it in like a neutral. Like, how do you know when to do that? How do you know when to put it back in drive? Like it freaks me out. So I just avoid car washes.
It's a high stress situation.
Yeah.
Being in that car wash, I agree, it's not only claustrophobic, but it's
Yes.
high stress. You're like, am I supposed to put it in neutral now? Do I take it out of neutral? Like, what am I supposed to do? Are these people going to hate me? I feel like that's very high stress. I get that one.
Well, and then when they're like, okay, come on, come on, come on. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? I still press go. And then they're like, duh. And I'm like, okay, am I pressing stop or am I pressing neutral? Like, what does this mean? And they're like, all right, come on, come on. I'm like, oh, my mom, you're really good at these car washes. I, however, am not. None, you know why my car is always dirty.
I think that we have really outed ourselves today.
I, I know. And then there's got to be so many other things. And I
Yeah.
hope that people can relate and they also don't know how to do either these things or they have something else that they're embarrassed to admit you don't know how to do, but you've gone too far in life that you can't admit it now. Feel free to admit it to us. You can put it in our comments
Yes.
on Instagram, almost rich _ almost famous. Put it in our comments on YouTube if you haven't subscribed already. It's almost rich, almost famous. And if you're too embarrassed, you can slide in the DMs too. We won't say your names. We promise.
We won't
Just
say your
feel
name,
better
but we
about it.
really want to know what those things are. And they don't necessarily need to be things you don't know how to do. They can be like me with the percentages and the tips, things you don't want to know how to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
So make
true.
sure you put those in the comments. We can't wait to read them and make us feel a lot less stupid.
Cheers.